So fingers crossed, today I turn my favourite Casio into my ultimate Casio. Hello, you're watching James. My name's James, you're watching me, and I'm talking about watches. And today I'm talking about my Casio AE1200, the Royale, a watch that has always been my favourite Casio, but it's always had a bit of a problem for me. It just hasn't had that wrist presence that I'm chasing. I like having a little bit of weight, a little bit of feeling, a little bit of texture, a little bit of something on the wrist. And as much as I love all Casios, especially this Royale, it is just missing that. And as a result, it sort of feels sort of a little bit more like a work watch, or a little bit more like a sort of a tool watch, something that is great, something that I sort of like, but I don't really enjoy on wrist. It's not sort of like my other watches that I wear that I can feel and go, wow, that feels good. I look down and go, wow, that looks good. It's sort of missing that element. And it's something that I've been chasing with Casio for some time. I've been trying to find an ultimate Casio for me. A Casio that ticks all the boxes, a Casio that I sort of not only like, but I love and I desperately want to keep in my collection long term. And today with this modification kit from SKXMOD, I'm hoping that I am going to achieve that. Now, I did have to pay for this modification kit, but thank you to SKXMOD for giving me a small discount. Now, that's why you would have seen that sponsored icon come up, and I'm also going to leave a link directly to their website below. Now, this modification kit has been on my radar for some time, but there's two reasons why I haven't purchased it up until now. First reason is the price. The modification kit is 220 Australian dollars. Now, there's lots of different options available and you can get cheaper versions that don't include the bracelet. But for me, I wanted the case, I wanted the crystal, I wanted the bracelet, I wanted the full experience. And at 220 Australian dollars, it just felt a little bit expensive. And I want to talk about that price at the end of the video because I want to tell you now that I've had it in hand, whether or not I was right about that. But there was a second reason why I didn't purchase it. And that is because I'd watched every review about this modification kit. And although it was a really good looking kit, and although I was rather excited about it, I could see that there was probably some negatives about it. People were talking about how it looks and feels, and they were being quite open about that not being completely perfect. And when I blended that price with it not possibly being perfect, it stopped me buying it. But of course, now I have purchased it, and I do want to give you a proper look of this sort of modification kit. And I want to show you through that modification process. In the future, I'm going to do a bit more of a review about it, but today I want to show you the mod and just show you how it ends up looking. So let's flip the camera and let's check it out. Now, I have owned lots of Casios and all of them have been fantastic, but I have to admit the Royale is my favorite because a lot of the Casios that I've owned have been great and they've been fit for purpose and they've been fantastic, but I haven't really enjoyed them on wrist. There's been a couple that have been really good, but this one is my favorite. I love the look of it. I love the size of it. I like the sort of functionality of it, and it's a fun watch to own. But there's been one thing missing from it, and that is that sense of sort of heft or quality to it, that sort of full metal sort of feel to it, because this one here is the resin version. Obviously, it obviously has a resin feel to it, but the stainless steel variation, which I've owned before, as good as it looks, it doesn't really have that feel on wrist. And that's where this SKX modification kit comes in. But I'm going to say right now, I have a mixed set of emotions because firstly, I'm really excited. I'm really excited that this may turn one of my favorite watches, my Royale, into an even better watch. But I'm also slightly worried because I've watched all the sort of reviews and things of this, and a lot of them said it's great, but they wish it was just a little bit better. They wish that perhaps there was the next step. They hadn't sort of done quite enough. But let's have a look and see if perhaps they've done enough or if I'm going to be thinking the same. Comes with a lot of stuff, comes with all the tools that you need. I think in here there's the screws and spring bars. We've got the actual case itself. Here we go. Yes, it's got the case itself. Let's put that aside because that's going to be needed. Let's check out the bracelet itself. I got all the brushed version. I can already feel it's a little bit sticky, but it does certainly feel very nice. And oh, look at that. It's all milled inside. Now, I'm pretty sure that's a new thing because the reviews on the modifications I've seen on this one, they were not milled inside. So that must be a bit of an upgrade. So that's fantastic. That was actually one of the things that concerned me a little bit, wanting that to be a milled inner, because if it's going to be this sort of quality, or hopefully this sort of quality, you want that as well. We've got some gaskets under here. And as I said, there's some spare spring bars in there. What else we got in here? There's something else. Let's pop them out because I'm going to need all this. Oh, we've got spare screws in there. Screwdrivers, tweezers. Oh, they're plastic tweezers. That's actually really good. I'm going to be able to use them for other things. And that's about it. Oh, there's something else in there. Let's use the tweezers to get that out. Let's see what that is. Oh, it's a little pusher. That's to push pins out, I'm assuming. Okay, so the kit itself looks good. I'm actually quite happy with how it looks so far. Very happy that's a milled internal clasp there. Now I'm going to do the modification, and I'm going to be doing that whilst recording, which is going to add a sort of next level of maybe a difficulty for me. So I do apologise if this next little bit becomes a little bit messy. I will skip through it a little bit as I go along so it's not too boring for you. Now, I'm not sure if this internal part that was meant to be used as a surface to work on, but it came on inside the lid and actually feels like a really good idea to use that so I don't scratch anything. But the first thing we're going to do is take the strap off this one here. Now, the one tool it doesn't come with is the strap removing tool. I don't think so. That's a screwdriver. That's a screwdriver. That's a screwdriver. So no, I'm going to have to use my my own personal tool. And I've got this Bergeon tool, which I'm really impressed by actually. So let's get the strap off this original watch. Well, that was really easy, as it usually is to take a strap off a watch. Let's try and not lose those spring bars, shall we? Let's keep it separate so we know what's original and what's not. The next part, I believe, is we take these screws off. So we take the case back off and we can take the module out. Okay, all screws are now out, and that's a good screwdriver, so that's cool. Now, we're not going to be reusing those screws, apparently. We are going to be using the new screws that come with it. Apparently, they're a little bit different. But let's pull the module out of this, and apparently we're not using this gasket that came with it. We're going to use a new gasket. So let's get the old gasket out. Put that aside, and let's take the module out. All right, so we got it out there. We're going to be using the little faceplate as well, so I'm going to put that aside. Let's not lose that one there. This is the old module, or the old faceplate there, so let's put that aside. Let's try not to get mixed up here, and let's get the new one in. I have to say it feels super, super solid, like completely full steel, all milled or something. It's just, yeah, a lovely feel to it. I'm just going to give this a quick wipe out. I don't want any dust may have gone in here. So let's push that out. Let's get this little faceplate in, make sure we put it the correct way in. Being very careful to get that module in correctly, and we want it to go click in. So apparently this one here, we need to ensure that these little buttons are ready to go in. Oh yes, as you do that, you can sort of feel the movement, or that sort of module sort of click into place. Certainly feels right. Turn it around, let's see if the buttons are working. Yep. All those buttons are working, fantastic. Give it a quick wipe because I've been putting my fingers all over it. And let's put a new gasket on it, which came with the kit. Okay, that looks like it's in place, so let's now put the backing back onto it. And they've given us 6 screws when we only need 4, so we've got a couple of spares, so that's good. Okay, so sticking that on is actually pretty easy. Having the camera in the way as well means making it a little bit more difficult for me. But as you can see, it's now in the case. As simple as that, literally putting those 2 bits into there, the module and that little screen, making them click in, putting a new gasket, and then putting that back on again. It now has a really nice heft to it. So now we're going to put the bracelet on. Now, checking out this bracelet, we'll see there's some double-ended quick release spring bars. That should make this a little bit easier. Well, there you go. That actually wasn't too difficult. A little bit fiddly. So there we have the watch with the bracelet on. There's sort of female end links as well, which is good. So they drop away. Just need to size it up for my 6 3/4 inch wrist now. And just so you know, there is heaps of space there. Mine is a 6 3/4 or about 17 centimeters. You could put probably maybe a 9-inch wrist inside that one. Now, when we're looking at this bracelet, they are screw links, so this should make this resizing quite easy. Hopefully it is. Now, checking out the tops of these, those ones that are a little bit wobbly, which is quite interesting. Now, I did find that one's a little bit stiff, so I chose not to then try and force it. I've just sort of taken out the other ones. Okay, so that's 2 out from each side, and I get the feeling that that's not going to be enough, because normally if I take 2 out from each side, that's actually perfect for me. But there's so many links in this is probably going to be too big. And yeah, it's still a bit too big. It might be enough though with the micro adjust. I might be able to move that in, but no, I think I'm going to take out an extra link actually. Yep, that's definitely it. It is the right fit for me. My 17 centimeter wrist, it now fits on wrist nicely. And that is leaving 5 links there. And as I said, 5 links is actually more than normal. Normally I'd take out 4 and it's a perfect fit for me. Okay, so what do I think now that I've actually done the modifications? Well, what I can say is it has a really nice sort of heft to it. All the buttons are working fine. Buttons feel a lot nicer. I think there's some blue stuff here I'm going to have to take off. Really nice feel to it. It really feels substantial now. This is an all sort of bee blasted or brushed look to it, which is the one I was going for. There are some other options. You can get all polished. You can get different colors as well. You can get this outside bit here all silver as well, but I thought black looked quite cool. What I can say is the only one thing that I think is a slight concern, and it's not a real big concern, is there is a little bit of stiffness inside those links there. You can feel like even that one there is a little bit sticky. Yeah, there's a little bit of a sticky nature to that. Not a big thing. I'm sort of okay with it. I think it will also then sort of ease up as with use, but you can see there's actually a little bit of a, yeah, it's a little bit sticky. That's okay. Yeah, that side's a little bit sticky as well. I think it's going to take a little bit of on-wrist use just to sort of wear in that bracelet. What I can say is it feels good though. Nice bit of taper as well. And I do absolutely love that is a milled inner clasp. Really sort of gives a heightened experience, sort of a more of a luxury feel to this sort of Casio. Well, overall, I'm pretty happy, but I want to talk more about the price of this modification kit because it's not exactly cheap, especially when it's costing sort of 4 times the price of the watch itself. So let's flip back to me now and let me talk you through what I think about the pricing of this mod kit now that I've had it in hand. When I first saw this modification kit, it was exciting, but when I saw that price tag of 220 Australian dollars, I thought it was too much money. That is the feeling that I had when I first saw it. But then when I actually got it in hands, that feeling actually started to dissipate. I started to look at it, look at the package, saw what came with it, felt the quality of it, and I'd really sort of started to think, well, actually, that price is okay. It didn't feel cheap. It certainly didn't feel like a bargain. But I certainly started to understand perhaps why it cost this sort of amount of money. Once I then finished the modification and actually started wearing this watch, I started to understand a lot more about why it cost this amount of money. And I actually think it's actually reasonably priced. If I was going to buy something else that had that same sort of look and feel to it, well, the only other watch that I could really compare it against is my Bulova Computron. And that Bulova Computron costs more than this modification kit plus the watch. And to be honest, the Bulova Computron is a very different style of watch, but I would say they're sort of somewhat comparable in regards to the feel of the watch on wrist. So what's my advice to you? If you're thinking about this, if you're doing exactly what I did, if you are sort of going, wow, I really like the idea of this, but it looks like too much money, I've got some advice for you. I think if you like the Royale, but you don't love it, it's just a watch that you like in your collection, then I probably wouldn't bother buying this kit. But if you're like me and the Royale is your favorite Casio, if it's something that you really, really like, then I think this modification kit, the price of this modification kit is absolutely worth it and it will make an ultimate Casio for you. Now, I'm going to do a little bit more of a full in-depth review of how this feels. It'll be a fairly short video, but I'm going to do that in the future, in about 4 to 6 weeks, once I've actually had this watch modified on my wrist for a fair amount of time. And then I can give you a bit of a better understanding of what it is like to actually live with this watch. But until then, whilst we wait, maybe check these videos out next.